Okay, we are recording.
Good evening, everyone. We'll wait just a minute here while people are arriving. And thank you all for coming. And hope you had a chance to do maybe a little bit of reading over the past couple weeks from the Essential Spirituality book. If not, that's fine as well. We received a few materials in our last email. There was the Mind Illuminated book was in there. The um, uh,
Eric?
I just muted again for some
Yes,
reason.
sorry. I muted everyone and then you muted too, so I apologize. Okay.
So hopefully those materials that I sent were helpful. And some of the meditation methods that I describe can be found in the Mind Illuminated book, uh, and that can be very, very useful in deepening your contemplative practice, your meditation practice. So I guess we'll begin. Thought I would start with a reading from Kabir. Some of you may be familiar with his poetry. No title on this one, which is typical of Kabir. And it begins with, I said to the wanting creature inside me, what is this river you want to cross? There are no travelers on the river road and no road. Do you see anyone moving about on that bank or resting? There is no river at all, and no boat, and no boatman. There is no tow rope either, and no one to pull it. There is no ground, no sky, no time, no bank, no ford. And there is no body and no mind. Do you believe there is some place that will make the soul less thirsty? In that great absence, you will find nothing. Be strong then and enter into your own body. There you have a solid place for your feet. Think about it carefully. Don't go off somewhere else. Kabir says, just throw away all thoughts of imaginary things and stand firm in that which you are. So good evening again. I thought tonight I would begin with a practice that some of you may be familiar with. It's used a lot by mindfulness-based cognitive therapists in Europe. It's been very popular and it's come to America probably in the last 5 or 6 years. It's called a 3-minute breathing space, and I'll include this in my mailing this coming week, so you'll have a copy of this. But it's a practice, as the title kind of denotes, it's 3 minutes, and it could be, you could extend it to 30 minutes if you'd like, because the practice itself really gives the outline of a full practice session, but it's done in a brief way here so that anytime during the day or evening or nighttime, if you're dealing with a difficult situation or you're experiencing some level of anxiety or depression, whatever it might be, or you're anticipating going into a difficult situation, you can use this practice to kind of soothe and rebalance the nervous system, coming back into a soothing state and moving out of that fight, flight, freeze mode that can happen with challenging, difficult emotions at times. So I'll begin. So just settle in. So now we're going to practice a short breathing exercise that may allow you to step out of what we call the ruminative mind or the automatic pilot mind that often is flitting around with thoughts of past and future, and instead reconnect to this present moment. So just finding a comfortable upright position, and you can either close your eyes, or if you're more comfortable with the eyes partially open, you can just kind of look at a spot in front of you on the floor. And now take a deep breath to bring yourself into this present moment, fully feeling into that breath. And one more slow, deep breath. And just now notice whatever you're experiencing in this moment, maybe beginning with sensations in the body. They might be sensations of discomfort or tension. They may be ease and softness, whatever the sensations are. And just now noticing the feet on the floor. Noticing the sits bones contacting the chair or the cushion. So just being with sensations at the contact points of the feet, the sits bones, noticing sensations of clothing contacting the skin. And now bringing your attention to the mind, just noticing what thoughts are here right now as best you can. Just observe your thoughts as they are right now. And now shifting attention to your emotional state, your feeling state. Just notice how you're feeling right now. Your sense of ease or some tension, heaviness, whatever might be there. And now bring the attention to the breath. Just noticing the breath, the rise and fall of the abdomen as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And noticing now the sensation of the air flowing through the nose. Maybe there's a coolness on the inhale and warmth on the exhale. And if you find that the mind has wandered away from the breath, simply bring it back and reconnect with each in and out breath, one following the other. And now allow your awareness to expand, to encompass your breath moving in and out through the body, feeling into the whole body, the breath in the body. And bring your awareness now to your thinking, whatever thoughts are moving through awareness. And just noticing now whatever emotions you're feeling right now. And finally, just broadening your awareness to notice the whole of your experience, body, thoughts, emotions, holding everything in awareness. And now just bring your attention back into the room, Opening your eyes if they're closed and noticing what you can see, noticing what you can hear. Maybe pushing your feet into the ground a bit and stretching the toes and the fingers and taking a couple of slow, deep breaths. So we'll just move into a deeper meditation now. So that was just a taste of the 3-minute breathing practice. And now we'll move into about a 20-minute practice to more fully expand on that 3 minutes. So once again, closing the eyes, or if you want to have the eyes half open, picking a spot on the floor just to look at. And just taking 3 or 4 slow, deep breaths, relaxing on each exhale. And now just bringing your attention to sound as I tap the bell and just noticing the sound of the bell until it dissolves into quiet, into stillness. Now just bringing the attention into the body. And I often start with a body scan and with the invitation to soften and relax, and inviting the body to relax can really support the mind settling and relaxing as well. So just beginning by noticing the feet, contacting the floor, and just noticing sensations there with the feet. Might be a sense of heaviness, warmth, coolness, whatever's there. And bringing the attention up from the feet, through the heels, up to the calves, the shins, the knees, and just inviting those lower legs to soften, soothe, and rest. Just resting. And moving attention up through the thighs, into the hips, feeling those sits bones contacting the chair. And again, just inviting the hips and the thighs to soften, soothe, and rest. Bringing attention up through the lower back, noticing the middle back and the ribs. Sensation of the back contacting the chair, perhaps. Bring the attention up into the upper back, the shoulder blades, tops of the shoulders. And just inviting the whole upper back, middle back, lower back, and hips to soften, soothe, and rest. Soften, soothe, and rest. And sensing into the front of the body, the abdomen, stomach area, the ribs, the chest, feeling into the rise and fall of the chest and the abdomen. And sensing into the shoulders, tops of the shoulders. Noticing the left arm and hand, inviting that left shoulder, arm, and hand to soften, soothe, and rest. And shifting attention into the right shoulder now, the right arm and hand. Again, inviting that whole right shoulder, arm, and hand to soften, soothe, and rest. Again, bring the attention up into the shoulders, sensing now into the back of the neck, sides of the neck, front of the neck and throat. And just inviting those areas to soften and rest. Inviting the throat and the tongue, the jaw to soften, soothe, and relax. Even allowing the mouth or the lips to open slightly so the jaw can release and relax. Sensing into the chin and the cheeks. The lips, the nose, the area around the eyes, the brow, the forehead. And just releasing any of the micro contractions of the muscles in the face. The face is kind of just like a sleeping baby. No contraction, no tension in the face. The forehead, the eyes, the cheeks, the jaw, soften and relax. Just resting. Finally, noticing the top of the head, the scalp, sides of the head, the back of the head, the ears, and the whole scalp, face, the jaw, the neck, the shoulders to soften, soothe, and rest. And now just noticing the body as a whole, just being with the experience of the body. Whatever is there, you might notice various contact points, maybe sensations inside the body, on the skin, whatever you're noticing, or just a general sense of awareness of the whole of the body. Whatever that experience of the body is for you, just resting in that moment by moment experience. Just resting. And if there's a sense of stillness that maybe you're touching or contacting, just noticing that as well. And just resting in that stillness. If you notice the mind getting caught up in rumination or getting lost in sensations, thoughts, just allow those experiences to soften and dissolve, kind of rest and fall, fade to the background, and just bringing that awareness of stillness, which is our natural state, just returning to that place of rest. So when the body is in a state of rest, the mind tends to settle. When the mind becomes activated, there's kind of a contraction that occurs, and we just release that contraction. The ruminative mind, and in that relaxing of that contraction, we can fall back into our natural state of calm, abiding, and stillness. Now in the background, you may notice the breath, the rhythm of the breath. There's no need to have the breath be an object of attention right now, unless you want to do that, focus the attention. So as we did last week, you can work with the breath, or you can simply let the breath fall to the background. We call that kind of the peripheral awareness. And we just rest in awareness itself, awareness of the quietude, the stillness, when the body and the mind are at rest. So there's two paths you can work with there. Just resting in our natural state of rest and quiet and stillness. Or you can focus the attention on the breath, whichever you prefer. Just resting. If there's any sense of quietude or joy, a sense of lightness, upliftment, just noticing that and breathing that into every cell of the body, taking this natural state of relaxation and quiet and stillness, and just seeing this as a ground state, a natural state, that when we step outside of the always busy mind, underneath that, we find this place of quiet and stillness. It's always present, but often covered over by the thinking mind, the emoting mind, the busy mind, the planning mind. And now, if you aren't doing it already, let's shift into just pure breath awareness practice to get a little taste of this again. When we use breath practice, we're creating an object out of the breath and we're observing that breath. We're actually, I shouldn't say observing, we're actually resting inside the sensation of that breath as it comes and goes. So that becomes our foreground attention. And then in the background, we may have thoughts, emotions, sensations that kind of float by. But in this method, we're kind of laser focusing the attention on the sensations of the breath in the upper body and just being with that experience of the breath sensation. Noticing the beginning, the middle, and the end of the in-breath, the beginning, the middle, the end of the out-breath. And this practice of focusing attention helps to stabilize the distracted mind. And as we deepen into this, we can move into that place of stillness as well. We may notice times of quietude and stillness in the midst of the breath. So just being with the breath in the upper body, being with the sensation, beginning, middle, end of each breath. You may notice even pauses between breaths. And just allowing the body to soften and relax on each exhale. Resting and relaxing on each exhale. When the mind wanders, we notice that, congratulate ourselves for remembering that we intended to be with the breath. So that moment of remembering, moment to celebrate, and then just releasing that contraction around whatever thought or emotion drew us from being with the breath, letting that go, relaxing it, and then just coming back gently, being with the sensation of in and out breath. beginning, middle, and end of each breath. Just noticing. Just being with that moment by moment sensation of that complete cycle of in and out breath. That's the sensation shifts and changes within each cycle of in and out breath. And once again, let's shift into this resting in stillness and awareness itself, where the breath kind of fades to the background. In the foreground, awareness is just resting in a sense of quiet and stillness, just resting within spacious awareness itself, our natural state of experience when the mind settles, the body's relaxed, just resting in stillness. Just relaxing into that natural state of quietude. Just relaxing into and resting in present moment awareness. Just resting. Again, if distractions arise, just invite those thoughts, emotions, sensations to soften and relax. And we just fall back into our natural state of quietude and stillness. Just resting in awareness itself, resting in that which is awake to this moment. And then we'll just close with a brief loving kindness practice, bringing attention now into the chest and the heart area. And we'll extend these words to ourselves to begin with, words of support and kindness. May I be happy and joyful in this moment. Just inviting a sense of lightness and a smile into the mind and the body. May I be happy and joyful in this moment. May I be healthy in mind healthy in body, healthy in spirit. May I know inner peace. May I have peace in all my relationships. May I know peace in all my relationships. May I be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. May I live with ease. Extending this wish for all beings, and just imagine radiating this loving kindness out in the heart, radiating out in front of us, behind us, above us, below us, to the left, to the right, just radiating out in concentric circles. May all beings be happy and joyful in this moment. May all beings be healthy in mind, healthy in body, healthy in spirit. May all beings know inner peace and outer peace. May all beings be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. May all beings live with ease. And just bringing the attention down to the belly now, just feeling into the breath in the belly. Bringing attention down through the belly, down through the legs, the thighs, the knees, down into the feet, feeling the body beat and the body stable and connected with the earth. Recognizing that deep interconnectedness of this human body and this Mother Earth body, giving gratitude and thanks for this breath that is given by the plants, their life-giving oxygen, the rains that quench our thirst, the sunlight which feeds life. And gratitude to all those relationships that sustain us, our family, our friends, our pets, the community around us, this planet. And just wiggling the toes and the fingers. Open your eyes if you'd like. And I'm just going to share a little bit background on mindfulness, and then we'll open up for discussion. I thought it'd be good to define mindfulness just a little bit. Gives a sense of one definition that I've come across. And it's seen as moment-to-moment awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and five senses. Pretty straightforward. But we bring an attitude to that experience of curiosity, openness, and acceptance. And as we know, oftentimes that's not the frame that we bring to our moment-by-moment experience. Oftentimes it's judgment and deep analysis and sometimes fear as opposed to curiosity. So this capacity to be curious, open, and accepting opens us to more information. We can take it in. We're less constricted by our mental constructs, our worldviews that can tend to limit seeing what is new and novel and unique in this moment. And we begin to spend, when mindful, we spend much less time dwelling in the past and the future, in the mind ruminating, and instead notice what's happening in each passing moment. And this capacity helps us move from emotional chaos to emotional clarity. So the mind, when it's in the judgmental mode, is often quite reactive, quickly assessing and judging and reacting to whatever experience is coming in. And oftentimes when we're in this state of reactivity, we experience the mind states of anger, anxiety, maybe frustration, irritation, restlessness, worry, insecurity, doubt, and so forth, obsession. And the reactive mind tends to cling to the pleasant, and it also tends to push away the unpleasant, or deny or distract itself, deny the present moment or distract from the present moment. Also, when there's not much going on, we call this a neutral state. We just tend to ignore neutral states when actually that might be a place of quietude that we can investigate. So this pattern makes life a roller coaster when we're in this reactive mode, and it affects our mood, causing us to react to life often with unhealthy or unskillful ways. So what's the alternative to this reactive mind? One author talks about, he says, we cultivate the responsive mind instead of the reactive mind. And the responsive mind, which requires us to know our deepest values, and we'll be getting into this more next month when we look at ethics and values. It requires us to know our deepest values with a commitment or intention to live from those values on a moment-by-moment basis. When we are committed to our deepest values, we are less swayed by our outer circumstances and habitual patterns. We learn to experience the unpleasant and not take it so personally, but rather understand that all experiences arise out of impersonal causes. They're just what is in the moment they're arising. We aren't the center of the story often that we put ourselves in. So they arise out of impersonal causes or habit and present moment conditions. So this moment that's arising could be no other way, and struggling with it won't change it. That's where curiosity and acceptance can come in. So when you experience the responsive mind, you experience clarity, which allows you to respond to life from a fresh and unbiased, non-clinging, non-judgmental perspective. I'll say that again. When you experience the responsive mind, you experience clarity, which allows you to respond to life from a fresh and unbiased, non-clinging, and non-judgmental perspective. This we call skillful living. The key to skillful living is our capacity to be both mindful of our authentic values, or those values which support sustainable happiness, and commit to living out of those values. This requires us to intentionally act from those values on a moment-by-moment basis. And I'll just finally conclude that as we connect to our deeper values more and more, we're always going to stray from those values, and we may get judgmental of ourselves for not aligning with what we hold deeply. And in those moments, self-forgiveness and self-acceptance is critical, as well as a commitment to learning from that experience and committing to not replicating that pattern that caused the dissonance between our deeper values and our habit, which may cause us pain and suffering. So I'll pause there and let's see if there's any good questions to ask. we're open for any questions that you may have. I'm just curious how maybe you're attempting to bring these qualities of mindfulness into your day-to-day experience, how that's working, what might get in the way, how you deal with the habit mind. We often talk about, with mindfulness, we gain this capacity to pause slightly before we react. Not every time, of course, that's the kind of the goal. But we can see the patterns of our reactivity and not automatically grab onto them and act out of them or act upon them. So that moment of recognition before acting is the place where we can choose how we want to respond from those deeper values, as opposed to just responding from a habitual reactive mode. So questions, comments about the practice, about readings that you may have done this week, whatever it might be. If you'd like to unmute or put your video on, that would be great. Well, I'll ask another question. Maybe we're done. You may have noticed tonight a little different practice that I did. Was this practice of just resting in stillness. It's a very simple practice. Many people will teach mindfulness of breathing to develop the capacity to have a more stable attention and reduce mind wandering. And that's a good platform to build. But at a certain point, it's also useful just to drop the object of the breath as our object of attention and just notice, some people call it noticing awareness itself or noticing stillness. And that's very powerful because it's very simple. That in that practice, there's no actor, there's no dualism in the practice. Where for the breath, it's I'm here, I'm watching the breath. So there's a slight separation between myself and the moment. We're watching that moment by moment breath. When we rest in stillness, we can simply come to a place of just being in our natural, what we might call luminous, loving quality of awareness. And then the practice there, when you get distracted, when you're resting in stillness, is to notice that distraction, whether it's a thought, emotion, whatever it is, as kind of a contraction of the body and the mind, and just releasing that contraction and falling back into stillness. So that's the practice of awareness of awareness. And I like to introduce that because some people really enjoy that approach, and ultimately that's kind of where you're headed as you develop more and more stability of attention, is dropping any practice really whatsoever and just resting in stillness, which is our natural state. So that's all I have to say. If there's comments or questions, happy to respond. Hopefully everybody didn't go to sleep. Well, if there's no questions or comments, I guess we can call it a night, and we'll have a few slides to close with. And we'll, next time around, if you're using the book, we'll be dealing with the first chapter. I shouldn't say the first chapter, it's really the first section. It's called Transform Your Motivation. It's practice 1. Reduce craving and finding your soul's desire. And this deals a lot with our ethical dimensions of living and the discipline around that, and how craving our deeper values is what this is talking about. So it again connects to this topic that we discussed a little tonight. So hopefully you'll make it next time around. It'll be a new world in 2 weeks. And to help us closing out tonight, our slide says, to help us continue to lend our voice of love and justice to the world, you can give online through our this web site, tinyurl.com donate to UUCC, or there you can pay by check and send it to the address there. If you want to snap a picture of that, we'll leave that up for a moment. And if you're participating in this course, you can give whenever you would like. If you want to give once a month, or once a session, or at the end, any support is appreciated. It goes, a lot of our work, a lot of this support goes to organizations in the community as well as our own church, but we do support a number of organizations around justice and environment in the local community, and our programming supports a lot of that as well. So another slide.
Oops.
The next slide. So if you're still listening, you can join us for our fall retreat, which I'll be holding on November 16th. Mindful Living, Deepening Your Practice. This will be Saturday, as I say, the 16th from 10 to 3 at our church home, UUCC Sanctuary in South Portage on Shaver Road. And it will involve a number of practices, from body scan to some light yoga to eating practice, loving kindness practice, mindfulness like we've done, awareness of awareness practice, walking meditation, which a lot of people like. We break up our sitting practice with walking. And we have a bag lunch that you can bring, and we have coffee and tea that's available. And it's always an option at lunchtime. If you want to have quiet, you can eat quietly in a quiet space, or if you want to chat with people, you can do that as well. So it's just a nice day of a little more intense practice and really getting into a deeper space of quiet and connection. And people have typically enjoyed it. We've been doing this for I've probably been doing it for 5 years. It kind of paused during COVID, but we're back up and running now. We started last year again. So hopefully you can come to that. And there'll be information coming to you in an email soon, and you can register for that. So thank you all for coming. And hopefully you'll have a restful and kind of less stress week. And you can use a 3-minute breathing space when anxiety starts to percolate up. You take 3 minutes and check out thoughts, emotions, and sensations, and come back to center a little bit. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next round. Bye-bye.
I'm just responding to a chat from Christy about the emails, so I will close out the meeting as soon as I finish that.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.